Section 3B.3.3 Language. What brain areas are involved in language processing? We think of speaking and reading, or writing and reading, or singing and speaking as merely different examples of the same general ability, language. But consider this curious finding. Aphasia, an impaired use of language, can result from damage to any one of several cortical areas. Even more curious, some people with aphasia can speak fluently but cannot read, despite good vision, while others can comprehend what they read but cannot speak. Still others can write but not read, read but not write, read numbers but not letters, or sing but not speak. What does this tell us about the mystery of how we use language, and how did researchers solve this mystery? Clue 1. In 1865, French physician Paul Broca reported that after damage to a specific area of the left frontal lobe, later called Broca's area, a person would struggle to speak words while still being able to sing familiar songs and comprehend speech. Damage to Broca's area disrupts speaking. Clue 2. In 1874, German investigator Karl Wernicke discovered that after damage to a specific area of the left temporal lobe, Wernicke's area, people could speak only meaningless words. Asked to describe a picture that showed two boys stealing cookies behind a woman's back, one patient responded, "Mother's away working her work to get her better, but when she's looking the two boys looking the other part, she's working another time." Geschwind, 1979. Damage to Wernicke's area also disrupts understanding. Clue 3. A third brain area, the angular gyrus, is involved in reading aloud. It receives visual information from the visual area and recodes it into an auditory form, which Wernicke's area uses to derive its meaning. Damage to the angular gyrus leaves a person able to speak and understand, but unable to read aloud. Clue 4. Nerve fibers interconnect these brain areas. A century after Broca's and Wernicke's findings, Norman Geschwind assembled these and other clues into an explanation of how we use language, Figure 3.29 and Figure 3.30. When you read aloud, the words 1. Register in the visual area, 2. Are relayed to a second brain area, the angular gyrus, which transforms the words into an auditory code that 3. Is received and understood in the nearby Wernicke's area, and 4. Is sent to Broca's area, which 5. Controls the motor cortex as it creates the pronounced word. Depending on which link in this chain is damaged, a different form of aphasia occurs. Today's neuroscience continues to enrich our understanding of language processing. We now know that more sites are involved than those portrayed in Figure 3B.19, and that the map can vary from person to person. Moreover, fMRI scans reveal that different neural networks are activated by nouns and verbs, and by one's native language and a second language learned later in life. Pirani and Aboutaleb, 2005, Shapiro et al., 2006. For example, adults who learned a second language early in life used the same patch of frontal lobe tissue when recounting an event in either the native or the second language. Those who learn their second tongue after childhood display activity in an adjacent brain area while using their second language. Kim et al., 1997. Still, the big point to remember is this. In processing language, as in other forms of information processing, the brain operates by dividing its mental functions, speaking, perceiving, thinking, remembering, into subfunctions. Your conscious experience of reading this page seems indivisible, but your brain is computing each word's form, sound, and meaning using different neural networks. Posner and Carr, 1992. We will see this also in Unit 4 in the discussion of vision. Right now, assuming you have sight, you are experiencing a whole visual scene as if your eyes were video cameras projecting the scene into your brain. Actually, your brain is breaking that scene into specialized subtasks such as discerning color, depth, movement, and form. And in vision, as in language, a localized trauma that destroys one of these neural network teams may cause people to lose just one aspect of processing, as when a stroke destroys the ability to perceive movement. In both systems, each specialized neural network, having simultaneously done its own thing, then feeds its information to higher level networks that combine the atoms of experience and relay them to progressively higher level association areas, enabling us to recognize a face as grandmother. This helps explain another funny finding. Functional MRI scans show that jokes playing on meaning, "Why don't sharks bite lawyers?" professional courtesy, are processed in a different brain area than jokes playing on words. What kind of lights did Noah use on the ark? Floodlights. Goel and Dolan, 2001. Scientists have even been able to predict from the brain's response to various concrete nouns, things we experience with our senses, the brain's response to other concrete nouns. Mitchell et al., 2008. Think about it. What you experience as a continuous, indivisible stream of experience is actually but the visible tip of a subdivided information processing iceberg, most of which lies beneath the surface of your awareness. To sum up, the mind subsystems are localized in particular brain regions, yet the brain acts as a unified whole. Moving your hand, recognizing faces, perceiving scenes, comprehending language, all depend on specific neural networks, yet complex functions such as listening, learning, and loving involve the coordination of many brain areas. Together, these two principles, specialization and integration, describe the brain's functioning. Section 3b.34, the brain's plasticity. To what extent can a damaged brain reorganize itself? Our brains are sculpted not only by our genes, but also by our experiences. MRI scans show that well-practiced pianists have a larger than usual auditory cortex area that encodes piano sounds. Bevelier et al., 2000, Pantev et al., 1998. In Unit 9, we'll focus more on how experience molds the brain, but for now, let's turn to evidence from studies of the brain's plasticity, its ability to modify itself after some types of damage. Unlike cut skin, severed neurons usually do not regenerate. If your spinal cord were severed, you would probably be permanently paralyzed. And some very specific brain functions seem preassigned to particular areas. One newborn who suffered damage to the facial recognition areas on both temporal lobes never regained a normal ability to recognize faces. Farah et al., 2000. But there is good news. Some of the brain's neural tissue can reorganize in response to damage. It happens within all of us as the brain repairs itself after little mishaps. Our brains are most plastic when we are young children. Kolb, 1989. See also figure 3.31. Constraint-induced therapy aims to rewire brains by restraining a fully functioning limb and forcing use of the bad hand or the uncooperative leg. Gradually, the therapy reprograms the brain, improving the dexterity of a brain-damaged child or even an adult stroke victim. Taub, 2004. One stroke victim, a surgeon in his 50s, was put to work cleaning tables with his good arm and hand restrained. Slowly, the bad arm recovered its skills. As the damaged brain functions migrated to other brain regions, he gradually learned to write again and even to play tennis. Deutsch, 2007. The brain's plasticity is good news for those who are blind or deaf. Blindness or deafness makes unused brain areas available for other uses. Amity et al., 2005. If a blind person uses one finger to read Braille, the brain area dedicated to that finger expands as the sense of touch invades the visual cortex that normally helps people see. Baranaga, 1992a, Sodato et al., 1996. In deaf people whose native language is sign, the temporal lobe area, normally dedicated to hearing, waits in vain for stimulation. Finally, it looks for other signals to process, such as those from the visual system. That helps explain why some studies find that deaf people have enhanced peripheral vision. Bosworth and Dobkins, 1999. Plasticity is especially evident after serious damage. If a slow-growing left hemisphere tumor disrupts language, the right hemisphere may compensate. Thiel et al., 2006. Lose a finger, and the sensory cortex that received its input will begin to receive input from the adjacent fingers, which then become more sensitive. Fox, 1984. Lost fingers also feature in another mysterious phenomenon. As figure 3b.13 shows, the hand is between the sensory cortex's face and arm regions. When stroking the arm of someone whose hand had been amputated, V.S. Ramachandran found the person felt the sensations not only on the area stroked, but also on the non-existent phantom fingers. Sensory fibers that terminate on adjacent areas had invaded the brain area vacated by the hand. Although brain modification often takes the form of reorganization, evidence suggests that, contrary to long-held belief, adult mice and humans can also generate new brain cells. Jesberger et al., 2008. Monkey brains illustrate neurogenesis by forming thousands of new neurons each day. These baby neurons originate deep in the brain and may then migrate elsewhere and form connections with neighboring neurons. Gould, 2007. Master stem cells that can develop into any type of brain cell have also been discovered in the human embryo. If mass-produced in a lab and injected into a damaged brain, might neural stem cells turn themselves into replacement for lost brain cells? Might we someday be able to rebuild damaged brains, much as we reseed damaged lawns? Might new drugs spur the production of new nerve cells? Stay tuned. Today's biotech companies are hard at work on such possibilities. Gage, 2003. In the meantime, we can all benefit from other natural promoters of neurogenesis, such as exercise, sleep, and non-stressful but stimulating environments. Iso et al., 2007, Pereira et al., 2007, Stranahan et al., 2006.